with to pretty please be my moderator because I'm not dealing with the spams. And I learned why my account was being like spammed out like this. Like if y'all have not been notified by the fake accounts, I think there's about 8 fake accounts, 8 to 10 fake accounts right now of my profile. So if you get anybody asking you about Bitcoin, asking you about signing up for anything outside of me talking to you directly, just report it, block it, delete it, please. I realize what they're doing. So there's a few companies out there that create bot accounts and they will spam your entire profile. And then they email you and say, hey, it looks like you have a spam problem. If you pay us, we'll get rid of it. And so I reached out to some other people I know who had those issues because I have not paid for like anything, likes, follows, nothing. So for that to happen, I was really confused. And I reached out to some people I know and I was like, hey, can you explain to me what's going on? And I sent them the screenshots from the emails that I've been getting. And they said that's exactly how some people make a business is they'll spam out accounts and then they'll email you and say, hey, we can get rid of this problem for you, but they're creating the problem and then providing a solution in the same go. So it's just been an issue and it's been very draining. But that's not what I'm here to talk to y'all about. Okay, so we're going to talk about this Inflation Reduction Act and we're going to talk about some stocks around that. Okay, so I'm really excited about this because we have another opportunity to position ourselves for wealth, which is always a great conversation to have. So the Inflation Reduction Act, if you guys are not familiar with it by now, essentially it's an act that was put into place to try to combat what's going on with inflation by works of focusing on energy reduction and also focusing on, so that's energy reduction, whether that be through wind, through solar, or through like EV vehicles, right? And then they also have something put into place for healthcare, and then they have something put into place for oil digging resolutions, or provisions, excuse me. So they're not stopping oil digging, they're actually looking for new areas to dig in so that they can gather more oil. So if you do have some oil stocks or some oil shares, this could be very beneficial to you, especially if they start finding new oil wells, I guess. But with the healthcare, this is exciting because insulin, they're dropping the price of insulin. The monthly cap that it can go to is $35 a month. Now, I don't know if y'all recall, but there have been so many complaints about the cost of insulin because it's literally a life or death type of medicine for a lot of people, right? And so originally it was anywhere from $300 a month to $1,000 a month that people were having to pay on insulins. And so now the monthly cap is $35, which I think is just phenomenal. One of my coworkers, one of my past coworkers, he relied on insulin. And so to know now that he's going to be able to afford the insulin and not have to stress about that, well, if something happens, can I even afford the medicine that I need? I think that that's just amazing. So I'm really excited about that. I'm really glad that that was put into place. And then what is this? The energy portion. So 30%, there's a 30% tax credit that's going to homeowners who are focusing on doing any type of work on the home that they own to make it more energy efficient. So whether it's solar panels, whether you are, let's see, I want to make sure I read it correctly here. EV credits. Give me 1 second. I want to make sure I read it correctly. Okay, so whether it's energy efficient windows, heat pumps, or newer models of appliances that focus on being more energy efficient, this is where you'll have that tax credit. So if you are a homeowner, now would be a good time for you to start looking and saying, I want to replace some appliances because you'll have this tax write-off. Now, the thing is, most of us are not homeowners. Actually, only 43% of African Americans are homeowners and 72% of Caucasians are homeowners. So this type of benefit is not really going to benefit us primarily. However, for those of you who are homeowners, you might want to look into making these switches over because it will help you on the front side when it comes to your bills. Now, where we can benefit, for those of us who are not homeowners, where we can benefit is on the investment side. So this is where we're talking about investing into stocks, whether it's solar stocks, whether it's hydrofuel cell developers, or whether it is uh, energy storage stocks. Okay, so we've got Sunrun, we have First Solar, we've got STEM, we've got Ballard Power Systems, and Plug. So all of these stocks have been performing very well since the announcement of the Inflation Reduction Act in July. And so they're all performing well. If you look at them though, and you pull them out to the bigger picture, technically they're still in the red, especially Ballard. When I took a look at that, Sunrun, First Solar, these stocks are still rebounding from a correction, which means that there's still a lot of opportunity for growth in these areas. So just because they're performing well right now does not mean that this is where they're capping off at. And I say that because we see a lot of talk about switching over to more efficient ways of using energy. Okay. And we're really trying to reduce our footprint because it's just getting way too expensive staying on operating the way that we're operating now. So we know that longevity wise, we're going to be seeing a lot of switches over. We see EV. If you haven't noticed, Honda is planning on going 100% to the EV side by 2050. And there's a lot of other car companies that are fully starting to make that switch as well. And then on top of that, we see a lot of push towards solar panels. So I don't know if you've been seeing the ads for them. I have not been searching for them, but I've been seeing the ads pop up in multiple places about trying to encourage people to switch over to solar panels. So you've got these credits that you can get, and then you've got these tax advantages now. So it may be something that you might be interested in switching over to. Now, when I put my reel up and I asked everyone what they were looking at investing into, right? And they were like, girl, we've already been invested into Plug. Like, Plug is doing well. I knew this was going to be a long-term play. And you're very right. If you are not invested into Plug, I would definitely suggest that you go look at it. If you're not invested into STEM, go check it out. These are going to be long-term investments that you want to consider putting some money into, and they're not ridiculously expensive either. So let's look at, for example, let's start looking at these stocks here. All right, so Plug is currently $29.19 a share. So if you're trying to budget and say, what type of stocks am I able to afford? Maybe you can afford a few shares of Plug since it's only $29.19. Now, when we're looking at it from the time frame of a month, we can see that Plug has been performing very well, like I said, since July. But once we pull it out to the max, the highest that Plug has performed, y'all, was at nearly $1,200 a share. So for it to be $29.19 a share right now, it's still trying to recover and bounce back. Now, what I see from this is there was a lot of energy talk early on. They got a lot of funding early on, and then that tapered off. But as we move into this new era, right? We move into this new era. We've had the industrial era, and now we're, in my opinion, we're in the technological era where we will no longer be the ones who are supported by machines, but we will be the ones supporting machines. This is why they have these programs out for our kids to learn coding, and you're noticing that jobs are starting to be replaced by machines, because at the end of the day, if a machine can do it more efficiently and cost the company less, these are type of conversions that you're going to see them make. So when you're talking about investing into stocks that are going to save on energy, when you're talking about stocks like STEM, you're talking about Plug, Ballard Power Systems, First Solar, and Sunrun. These are companies that, when they were initially introduced into the market, had a lot of hype around them, and then they hit these deep corrections, and now they're trying to recover from that. And what I project is 20 to 30 years from now, we're going to be seeing these very big increases on the value of these shares because we'll be moving more into energy efficient models. So y'all let me know. Like, did you see? No, I'm not saving the live. Did you see they made an announcement that they're going to have a wind powered a wind-powered boat, and people were like, oh, they're so sarcastic. They were like, this is the greatest invention of all time. Where did they ever think to make a wind-powered boat? And they're making the announcement saying that they're being more energy efficient. But obviously, when people were on the boats back in the day, they were using only wind, right? So it was just really funny that they were trying to make that analogy. But however, they're saying that they're using the wind to power actual machines within the ship, right? Opposed to it being a sailboat. But I just thought that was so funny. So they're really trying to make these shifts over into more energy efficient models. Okay. So, oh yeah, I forgot I was streaming on my regular Facebook. Hey y'all. Tyrese said, boy, insulin prices were no joke. All right. So if you guys took the stock class, we look at the market a few different ways. We look at it how it's performing now. We look at it how it's been performing overall. We check the fundamental analysis, right? We're looking at the balance sheets, the cash flow statements, the income statements, right? I'm sorry, the cash flow sheets, the balance sheets, the income statements. Then we're checking on the technical side, and we're seeing why it's performing the way that it is, looking at past indicators to determine future movements in the market. Now, if you're looking at short-term investments, like I had somebody ask me under the reel before I went live, and they were saying, what's a quick way to take advantage of inflation? And how can I protect my money against everything that's going on in the economy? And anytime you're getting into investing, you can't really couple investments and protection in the same sentence, because anytime you're investing, you're risking your money. But if you want to look at some secure ways to back your money during this time of the recession and inflation, right? You want to look at anything that's going to outbeat the rate of inflation. So currently it's at 8.5% was the last time that I checked. Let me know if it's changed. And so you want to find something that's going to be beating out the 8.5%. A great example of that would be I bonds. I've been talking about that quite frequently lately because the rate of return is so high in comparison to inflation. With the rate of return being 9.62%, that's something that you want to try to secure your money with if you're really interested in beating out inflation. Because quite frankly, if your money's sitting in a high yield savings account or a standard savings account, you're losing value of the money that's in there. So your $100 is really not going to feel like $100 because you're fighting against the rate of inflation with only at maximum, I think I've seen 1.5% in a high yield savings account. That's not doing anything compared to the rate of inflation. It might look better to you because you're not used to seeing that type of return in your account, but it's not doing anything in comparison to inflation. So with an I bond, let's say if y'all decide to go that route, with an I bond, you'll have to have the money in there for a minimum of a year. Okay. And if you decide that you want to take it out before the 5-year mark, you will lose 3 months worth of that growth onto the I bond. However, if you're keeping in there for a minimum of a year with a return of, let's just say it fluctuates between 9.62% and 9.1% or 8.5%, you're still beating out inflation. So it would still give you a greater return than what you would have seen in any of your savings accounts. If you're saying that you're willing to take on the risk of losing your money with the potential to earn more money, right? A true form of investing, and you're wanting to get into more high risk styles of investing, like individually investing into stocks, then I would suggest looking at stocks that speak to where our economy is going. Okay. So when I saw the initial dip in the economy in 2020, I invested into into Matador resources, and I talk about that stock often because I check my fundamental analysis, I check my technical analysis, and I said this will be a good long-term investment throughout the pandemic. And it was a great investment, and a lot of people who listened to me who took that suggestion, they performed very well with their investment as well. So when you're looking at, okay, right now, inflation is through the roof. They're trying to figure out how to fight inflation. One of the issues that we're facing is an energy issue. So investing into energy-based stocks would be a wise decision. But you're going to have to learn how to read the market so you have an exit strategy with whatever it is you're invested in. Okay, so keep in mind, every stock that does well in a moment may not continue to do well long term. But the only way you're going to know that is if you're studying your fundamental and your technical analysis of the market, because you got to have an exit strategy. So if anybody out here is looking for a short pump, I would suggest you get good with studying first. Because if you treat the market like the lottery, it will treat you like a gambler and you will lose your money. Okay. Let's see. So yeah, so I'm excited about it. Like even for solar, it's at $116 a share right now. There is a stock my mom mentioned to me that I was looking up, and this one's called Volta. So Volta is also in the energy space as well. So I don't know if you guys have heard about that one, but their shares are extremely affordable in the moment. So I don't know if you want to go read up on them. I still have to do some research before I make like a full commitment, but she made her decision. It's been performing well for her as well as a few other of my family members. Oh, thank you for purchasing your book. I can't wait to sign it. That was so sweet of you. Okay. So, you guys, this is what I do. So I pull up the news. The news is a form of fundamental analysis. If you really want to see how companies performing, go look at their cash flow. The cash flow is going to let you know if the company is broke or not. All right. And so when the economy hits these type of uncertain times, oh, I have something else to tell y'all. When the economy hits these type of uncertain times, you're going to know what type of companies are going to be able to weather the storm or not. Did y'all see the article that came out that Apple was laying off their recruiters? Did y'all see that? And remember when I talked to y'all, I think not even a month ago, about Apple, Google, and Meta doing hiring freezes in 2023? They're laying off their recruiters because they're not going to be hiring anybody next year. I talked to y'all about that. There were a lot of people saying, well, I don't know what you're talking about. You know, all these different sectors are still hiring. When you start seeing major companies doing layoffs or major companies doing hiring freezes, that's a clear indicator of the direction that our economy is in. So while you see investors really excited right now, the reason why they're excited is because they see that the president is trying to make these strong pushes to fight against inflation. But at the end of the day, if businesses are not performing well, right, they're going to have to make decisions so that they can meet their bottom line, because their entire goal is to sustain. So when they're doing these hiring freezes and stuff like that, they're just saying, all right, right now we need to make some decisions. We'll just chill out for a minute. And then when the economy gets kicking back, then we'll go back full force and we'll start hiring on some more people and bringing in some more stuff, right? But I just wanted to point that out because there's some indicators, like investors are excited. Inflation's down to 8.5, right? Then they just got the Inflation Reduction Act. So solar stocks are going to be doing well. And they're excited because they're like, okay, we're trying to make some true movement to get this economy back stirring. On the investor side, it looks good right now in this moment, which would be considered. Why is she calling me? Oh, hold on, y'all. Somebody was calling me on Instagram. Okay, so it looks good right now in this moment because what we're seeing is rallies. When you see these types of strong pushes and then it's not making sense on the other end, like when you see that the economy seems to be doing well stock side, but then you have all this other data stacked up that's suggesting that it shouldn't be looking like that, that means that we're experiencing a rally. So you have plenty of time to study. You have plenty of time to start positioning yourself. The only thing that I would suggest is if you're like, I need to start investing right now in this moment, I would determine which stocks you're going to be in long term, or I would start investing into index funds, because index funds are a great way to position yourself into investing long term without having to study the market. Okay. And then whatever you invest in, I would invest in something that pays out dividends. So then you can take the dividends and reinvest them back into the market. All right. So those are just some suggestions for y'all. I don't know who's on this call that has taken the stocks one-on-one class, y'all. It sold out last time. It was so good. So many positive reviews. And I was really excited that they were able to start to understand technical analysis, like for them to understand things that they've never seen before: support and resistance, trends, being able to identify higher highs, lower lows, and all of those things, and really start to understand these are the tools that I use when I'm marking up a chart. That was a phenomenal breakthrough for a lot of them, because every time they start to hear technical terms, a lot of people will shut down because if it doesn't make sense to you and your brain isn't wired to understand that type of material, sometimes it's going to take somebody holding your hand and walk you through the process. So for them to have walked away understanding that was really fulfilling for me. I was so excited for them. And they have the record. Well, they'll get the recording this week. I'm still editing down the video, but they also got the Japanese candlestick Bible. So they'll be having that resource so they can understand the different movements of the candlesticks and the different power pushes of the candlesticks and what those mean. They got like 5 or 6 different resources, but the Japanese candlestick Bible, that's a really good thing to have so you can start to understand in your technical analysis, like what those candlesticks mean when you're looking at the charts. And so the next class is going to be on September the 3rd. There's about 30 seats that are already gone now. And so this is my second time talking about it on live. So if you want to grab your seat, grab your seat, because this is the last time that I will be teaching this class live. After that, I am boxing it up and I'm only selling the recording because I have other classes that I want to teach y'all. Y'all want credit classes. Y'all want classes on learning about cryptocurrency. Y'all want classes on the foreign exchange market. Y'all want classes on budgeting. So there's other things that I have to create for y'all. And I can't keep teaching this class live because I won't be able to get it done. Okay, so if you want to get registered, just go to the link in my bio and you can get registered. The class is only $39.99. That's it. And I'm well aware that I could have charged more for the class, but all I needed was for y'all to say, hey, I'm going to invest in myself and I'm there to invest my time into y'all. Okay, so again, the last class sold out. It's $39.99, sis. Okay. So if you want to know, here, let me tell y'all real quick, and then we'll go back into talking about this. What all comes in the class, I'll tell you. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Okay, so this is what all comes in the class. Okay, so you're going to get your stocks terminology, okay, fundamental analysis of the market, technical analysis of the market, but I'm holding your hand. I'm literally marking up a chart and I'm questioning you guys and I'm making sure that you understand it, okay? Trustworthy brokerage firms, we're going to talk about that because there's a lot of people who are invested into stocks with Robinhood, not because they're like, hey, Robinhood's a great broker, but because you're just so new that was like, okay, this is the easiest thing for me to download and start buying shares on. But there are more reputable brokers because many people do not know that Robinhood is actually a third party. So that's one of the reasons why I have so many issues with them, but we'll also go over that and kind of guide you around some more trustworthy brokers. I'll show you how to open up your own self-managed stock portfolio. So I'll actually guide you through that process. And I think we'll be doing that one with Fidelity. And I'm also going to let you in to one of my self-managed stock portfolios. Okay, so it's one thing to be seeing screenshots of stuff, but it's another thing to really truly look at a stock portfolio, have a understanding of the unrealized gains versus the realized gains, understanding like the cash versus the cash versus the asset equity that's in the account, like being able to see the positives and negatives and all that kind of stuff and ask your questions around that is very beneficial because most people, when you're a new investor, you don't have that type of access to see that type of information. Most times you're going based off of a YouTube video and somebody showing you screenshots, but I'm actually going to log into this brokerage account and I'm going to show you that portfolio and I'm going to show you why I made wise decisions. Okay, Alexis, I'll see you in class. The wise decisions that I made, and then also some of the more novice decisions that I made. Like, for example, when I was talking to you guys about investing into these monkeypox vaccines, because there's a lot of you who are like, hey, monkeypox is here, so we need to be invested in the vaccines, right? How many people have said that? I need to invest in the vaccines because of monkeypox. I know that the stock is going to do well, right? How many people have said that? Oh, thank you. Somebody said that. Yeah. So, okay. So there's a good number of people that recognize that there's opportunity in investing into the solution of a problem. The issue is that when you're investing into the solution of a problem, you have to be mindful that when a problem is solved or more companies come on board to solve the problem, it can affect the funding of whatever company you're invested in. And so I made what I would consider a pretty grave mistake or error in my analysis when I was invested into a company that was focused on the COVID vaccines. And so, had I done my due diligence a little bit more, had I paid attention, I would have been able to get out of that investment in time. But it did cost me a good bit of money in that particular investment. So, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to show you, and I'm going to let you look at that and really just shape your mind around understanding why it's so important for you to have both fundamental and technical analysis of the market so that you can make some wise decisions when you're invested into something. Okay. So then we're going to talk about how to properly enter into a buy, when to buy, how to sell, when to sell, and all of that is going to be in the self-managed portfolio. So I'm going to actually walk you through, show you how to actually execute these things, show you what the market orders versus the limit orders are. And then once we finish all of that, we're going to, oh, thank you for buying my book. Oh, thank you. Okay. And then so after that, then we're going to talk about taxes with stock investing. Okay, because there are a lot of questions around that. And that's another reason why you have to be strategic on what you're investing into and why you're investing into it. Okay. And then if stock investing is not for you, I'm going to go further into detail about bonds, about investing your money into bonds as well as investing your money into index funds, because whether you're invested in stocks or not, I do feel like you should create some level of security with your investments by investing into bonds. Okay. And then index funds, honestly, I just feel like regardless, you should have index funds as well. But some people do not have the time, nor the patience, nor the focus, okay, to be able to study all this information and really get it. You really have to have an interest. You really have to have an interest. And so I'm going to give you all the full rundown. And I could have charged well up to, in my opinion, $300 for this class, but I'm only going to charge $39.99 because that's just what my heart said charge. So that's what I charged. All right. Let's see. Somebody said, how do we sign up for the class? I don't see it. So I can't put the link in the live, but if you exit out of the live and just click the link in my bio, you can register there. And I can't wait to see you in class. We're going to have a good time. Oh, yay. I'm so excited. I can't wait for you to start investing. And then just a heads up, if you are in the community, so if you're a bougie bestie in my membership community, you get any class that I teach, it comes with your membership. So non-members, they pay $39.99 for the access to a class, but members of the community, y'all get that for free. So outside of the coursework, right? Outside of all the resources, outside of the money giveaways, outside of the accountability calls, outside of our weekly workshops, outside of our game nights, you get every class that I teach for free as a member. So if you want to become a member, that link is also in the bio. Or if you just want to register for class, kind of get to know my teaching style, link in bio. Okay. And then thanks for everybody who bought a book. How much is the membership? The membership is $30 a month. But you can learn more about it in the link in my bio. The coaches who are your accountability coaches in the community, these are ladies who graduated from my program. So I've worked with them for at least 2 years, and they went from living paycheck to paycheck to having X amount of thousands of dollars in their savings accounts, changing their whole mindset around money. One of them even went on to become she bought her first home. She has investment portfolios for her kids. And so she's just a sound-minded body with her money. Another one went on to become a real estate investor. And then Coach Alexandria, who's just like near and dear to my heart, she had such a passion for the process that she actually asked if she could be a coach and help people. So I'm really thankful to have her. Yeah, it's awesome. So these aren't people that I just hired and was like, hey, can you come be an accountability coach? These are women who grew through it. And so they understand the process. So if you start crying, they're going to start crying. They're going to push you. I'm going to push you. It's really an involved process, and I love it. Oh, thanks, Jamal. Someone said, no, our one-on-one is just you and I. Just you and I, T-Y. Okay. All right. So that's the stock class. But y'all, so this act here, the only way that I really see it, because let's be honest, the majority of my audience is African American, right? So the only way that I really see the Inflation Reduction Act benefiting us is the 42. Okay, Juna, I'll see you in class. Is the 3% of us that are homeowners, if you take advantage of the tax credit by either buying energy efficient appliances, or let's see, by buying energy efficient appliances, heat pumps, which would be that, efficiency windows, or any type of newer model appliances. So if you want to get a different type of refrigerator and it says energy efficient, do that. There's a lot of benefits there to the 43% that are homeowners. The other way that I see it, actually, I see it three ways. The other way is through the energy efficient vehicles. So moving away from a gas vehicle into the electric vehicles, because there are a lot of companies that are switching their models. By 2050, we'll probably be very limited on vehicles that run on gas. Okay. And so with the energy efficiency, the 30% tax credit I was talking to y'all about, that's $14,000 in rebates. $14,000 in rebates to switch out your appliances. All right. With the EV tax credit, this is for the energy efficient or the electric vehicles, right? You'll get a credit of up to $7,500 for a new vehicle and $4,000 for used vehicles. Okay, so if you're in the market, you may want to wait so you can take advantage of that. And then in healthcare, we already know diabetes hits us the hardest, and it has a lot to do with our diets, right? But that has a lot to do with how we were raised. Okay. And so with insulin being dropped down to $35, that's amazing. That's going to help a lot of people. A lot of people. It says for Medicare Part D beneficiaries, the bill will limit insulin payments to $35 a month starting in 2023. It will then cap all out-of-pocket drug costs to $4,000 annually in 2024 and lower the cap further to $2,000 in 2025. This will directly benefit 1.4 million beneficiaries each year. That is huge. I'm so happy about that. Okay, and then the last thing, oil. So, okay, Jamel Jackson, love you back. I said it. Hope you recorded it. Okay, oil drilling provisions. Says finally, changes to oil drilling regulations backed by traditional energy producers will also go into effect right away. Though Biden and his aides might not tout these energy-friendly provisions to their domestic base, these provisions may spur greater oil production. Greater oil production. That's great for people who own oil stocks like myself. And open new areas to drilling and incentivize carbon capture technology. So I'm gonna be keeping my eye on that, because when I invested into Matador Resources, which is the oil stock that I'm most heavily invested in out of the oil stocks that I have, when I invested into them, I invested into it at $1.55 a share, $2.36 a share, $3.55 a share. As of today, it's at $56 a share. However, when I looked at it a couple of days ago, it was like at $60 a share or so. So that's exciting for me, because when I was doing my analysis, I knew that at minimum, investing into it at that amount, it would come back up to what it entered into the NASDAQ at, which was around $12. What I saw its maximum being at the time was $33 a share. But then we ran into all of these things with shortages and the barrel prices going up to $124 a barrel. And I was like, man, it stinks on the consumer side, but on an investor side, I am excited. Okay, Jacinta, I'll see you in class. I was really excited as an investor. While everybody was paying $7 and $8 a gallon for gas, I paid my consumer price. But on the investor end, every time I started up my car, I felt good. And that's the benefit of being able to find a route no matter how the economy is performing. And there's a lot of people who tie their emotions into investing. But you do understand, if you can be strategic around your investing, you can take the money that you've made and create solutions with whatever you had a problem with, right? So I've seen people say like, oh, you shouldn't be investing into oil because of XYZ. That's not going to, just because I feel some type of way. Oh, okay, Mark, I'll see you in class. Just because I feel some way about what people are doing with oil is not going to change them from continuing to dig up oil. It's not going to change people from continuing to invest in it. So if I can invest in something that I know is going to be profitable and then take the profits and do something that's going to cause change and effect, going to create a positive end result, then why not? They're going to do it anyway. And so the minute you start taking your emotions out of money and you start thinking logically, strategically around money, that's the minute that you will really start to become a true investor. There's something called emotional intelligence in the market, and it goes past worrying when a trade isn't going your way or worrying when an investment isn't going your way. Okay, you have to be able to analyze the market and make strategic decisions around the market. And I'm very grateful that that was one of the strategic decisions that I made, because not only did it benefit myself, it benefited my family as well as several of my friends. Okay, so I want y'all to start looking at investing through a different set of lens, because you need to look at investing just like you look at money, or how you should look at money, which is a resource. But the minute you start idolizing it, that's when your emotions get attached to it. Because if I took this $100 bill and I broke it in half, some of y'all would get really upset and be like, she did not just rip up a $100 bill. But it's a resource, so it doesn't matter. What I do with it is what matters. And this was play money before y'all started getting on me. This is play money, right? But the other thing is that y'all probably was like, oh my gosh, she just did that, until you realize it was play money. And then you just probably like, oh, okay. But that's an emotional attachment that you have to it. Take the emotions out of money and start thinking about strategies, and you're going to do fine. But if you're invested into something and you're always checking it like, oh, is it up? Is it up? Is it up 30 cents? Is it up 20 cents? Is it up? Is it up? Is it up? It's not fit for you, because you're looking at it the wrong way. You're just looking at it the wrong way. Okay, where can I find the link to sign up for the course? Okay, hold on, Montrese. Let me grab it for you. Okay. The name that okay, so somebody asked, what's the name of the stock that your mother suggested again? It was Volta. I still need to look at it. And you know what's crazy, y'all? I got my mom into investing into stocks and currencies. Can you see it? Volta. I wrote it down because she kept calling me and she was like, you invested yet? Can you see it? Volta. She kept asking me if I was invested yet, and I told her I would look at it, so I will look at it. Okay, but I got you know what's so crazy? I got my mom into investing. She raised me. She taught me how to be polite, how to be a giver, how to love with an open heart, how to do all of these things, right? To run track, play basketball. She taught me all of this stuff. And then I became a grown woman, made a whole bunch of money mistakes, got it together, started learning about investments, and then I taught her investing. How crazy is that? That is so cool that the student can become the teacher in certain aspects of life. And so now we're having different types of conversations, because she's calling me about stocks and like, have you looked at this? And I'm like, no, Ma, I didn't get a chance to look at this yet. But that's just wild to me. So you're welcome. So maybe you'll become that person and you can teach somebody, like your mom or your dad or your daughter or your son or a cousin, somebody. Because once they start seeing your mindset shift around money and those conversations change, they're gonna start looking at you a little different. Not the wealthy look, not like the ooh, they must got money look, but they're carrying themselves different look. It's nice. Okay. Yeah, it is pretty cool. I'm grateful for it. I love our conversations. I absolutely love them. You're supposed to contribute to your home, your community once you learn something. Oh, yes. So someone said, hold on, someone said, absolutely, wow, but you're supposed to contribute to your home and your community once you learn something that's helpful. You're supposed to, but many people don't. You're supposed to, but some people like to walk around with a chip on their shoulder and feel like they're that one, right? So they want to be the one to know everything because they learned something new. Some people act like that. You're supposed to reach back. There's this book, not a book, it's a speech by Malcolm X called The Ballad or the Bullet. I talk about it often. It's a very aggressive form of an opinion, but there's some true facts in it. Okay. And one of the things, oh, okay, Nikki, I see you in class. One of the things that he suggests is how we as a culture, we as a people, we're trapped, double trapped, triple trapped because of how we move with our money and the decisions that we make around our money. And even when we try to make good decisions with our money, how it still doesn't end up benefiting and helping one another, right? So when we make these decisions to say, I want to start building wealth, these are the type of things that you're doing, saying, oh, I want to get into a class that's going to teach me, or I want to start reading different books, or I want to get around a different group of people, right? Or whatever. These are the things that start to change that conversation. It starts to change that picture. If you haven't had the opportunity to listen to it, it's really good. And if you guys don't know me by now, I read a bunch of books. I'll go grab it so I can, well, I'll just, what do I want to do? Do I want to read it to y'all or do I want to tell y'all? Basically, this is what it says. You're supposed to learn something, earn something, and take what you earn to make some sort of change within a direct connection to you that's going to benefit those who are connected around you, and then teach them and educate them to repeat that cycle. Okay. So that we can keep circulating the money to build ourselves and our communities back up. Essentially, that's what it says. Because when he says we're trapped, double trap, and triple trap, what he's saying essentially is that there's other people who start businesses in our neighborhoods and our communities, and then they take the money that we've earned and they go build up their communities and their networks, right? And they go build wealth for their families, which is the name of the game. That's what you're supposed to do. But if we would just wise up a bit and start changing what we're doing financially, we could be doing the exact same thing. Okay, so that's essentially what the Ballad of the Bullet suggests. If you just take everything out and look at the moral of it, that's basically what it suggests. And I definitely agree. So if you're going to learn this, I need you to take this information and teach it to somebody. If you're going to learn this. Okay, please. All right. And then if you really want to move, this is changing. This conversation is changing. Sorry if you're still here for this inflation talk. We covered that already. This conversation is changing. If you really want to change where you are at their finances, and you really want to change like your wealth mindset, and you really want to change just your position in general, it's not a money thing, it's a mind thing. And I'm sure you've heard this probably several times over, but I don't know if you received it. Hearing a message and receiving a message is two different things. It's like when your mama tells you something, half the time it goes in one ear and out the other until you hear it from your best friend or you hear it from somebody else, and then now it sticks. So maybe me saying it this time is what will make it stick. Okay. If you really want to change where your finances are, it has to be your mindset. You're not going to get anywhere by doing the exact same things, having the exact same conversations, going to the exact same places, having the exact same routine. Nothing's going to change. There's a couple of books that I read that I'm going to suggest to y'all. Okay. The first book is going to be Millionaire Morning. That's a 40-page book. So this is for anybody who doesn't like reading. This is going to be the book for you. This book is very to the point, no fluff, and it suggests how you should go about your day. So what this author did was he interviewed a bunch of millionaires and he said, hey, what does the average millionaire do in their routine? And it's not about being a millionaire. It's the mindset that's attached to the millionaire, because a way a millionaire operates is just different. And that's the type of operations I want to go about my life in. I don't chase money. I chase growth. And the minute you start chasing growth, the money's just going to start coming naturally because there's certain things that are in alignment with you. Okay, so read Millionaire Morning. If that's one of your goals and you're saying you really want to make some sort of shift, read it, implement it. And so one of the things that I do is I have like anytime I read a book, I pull up a Google Doc. And as I'm reading it, I'm creating actionable steps for myself behind what I'm reading. So if the book is saying, hey, the average millionaire wakes up 2 to 3 hours before their original schedule so that they can put time in for themselves for prayer, meditation, working out, or whatever before their actual day starts, then on my worksheet that I'm creating for myself, I'm analyzing my schedule and I'm saying, okay, 2 to 3 hours. I need to wake up 2 to 3 hours before my normal schedule. And then I put a little colon and I put a thing and I say, what time am I waking up? And that's how I'm entering my worksheet. So I'm drafting this whole thing for myself that is going to work as a guide for me. All right. The same thing that I did with Good to Great. I'll post a note. With Good to Great. This book is the one that I'm currently reading. And when I read books, you have to get very intentional. Like you can't just read them. And that's why I don't like audiobooks, because audiobooks, you can just get so sidetracked and you can just be thinking about anything else in the world. You could be listening to John C. Maxwell, Bob Proctor, who is this? Myron Goldman. You could be listening to all of them. Eric Thomas, C.T. Fletcher. I don't care. You could be listening to them, reading their book in the background. But if you have something going on in your through your day, if you have bills to pay, if your kids are stressing you out, your mind is going to wander about 8 different places. And when somebody asks you, hey, did you read Millionaire Morning? And your response is, I listened to the audio, then no, you didn't, because you really didn't receive whatever the book was trying to tell you. The only way to really get a message is to crack it open, highlight it, take notes, and have actionable steps behind it. So Millionaire Morning is one. Another book that was great was Go Giver. That's this one. And this one talks about the stratospheric laws of success. Okay, so there's just certain laws that go along with it. And when you start acting on those laws, you'll see certain styles or things about yourself will start to grow, develop, and change. Okay. Somebody said my mind will wander while I'm reading a book. That's because you're reading longer than what your attention span will allow. So if you notice that after 20 to 30 minutes, your mind is starting to wander, stop. Stop. Read again the next day, because you're exercising your brain. The average attention span is 8 seconds. So if your attention span is not stretching past 10 minutes, is because you're not used to reading. So the minute that your mind starts to wander, shut it down and then try again the next day. And then you'll notice that 10 minutes will become 20 minutes, so on and so forth. And then you'll be cranking out an hour a day in a book and not even realize it. But it's not about reading. It's about retaining. It's not about listening. It's about doing. It's just the action behind it. Okay. So that was that. Good to Great is cool if you're like an entrepreneur. It's a really good book for that purpose. It works for people in corporate careers as well, like if you're really trying to scale that ladder. Rich Dad Poor Dad would be a finance book that I would recommend y'all read. And let's see, Rich Dad Poor Dad and Good to Great are 2 books that I have for free. If y'all want them, let me know. I'll send you the PDFs of them. Morning Millionaire, that one's in my resource vault, but it's a free resource vault. So it's got Rich Dad Poor Dad in there, Millionaire Morning, and The Intelligent Investor, the Bitcoin Standard. It's got like templates in there, a couple other books as well. I can't think of them off the top of my head. But Good to Great, if you want that book, if you want Grant Cardone's 10X Rule book, just send me a message and I'll send over the PDF file to you. Okay. But please just do me the favor. Actually do it. Like, don't just have me send it to you and waste my time and your time. Okay. Like, just read the book. Please just read the book and like create some actionable steps behind it. Okay. All right. Any questions? Yep. So message me. You're going to have to message me. You're going to have to message me. So, there was another book, John C. Maxwell's. Where did it go? Where did it go? Where did it go? Hold on, I have another book for y'all. Oh, here it is, right here. John C. Maxwell's Failing Forward. Were y'all on this call yesterday? Was it yesterday? Was it yesterday? Were y'all on this call yesterday? Did y'all miss this call when I was talking to y'all about this book? You're welcome. Y'all can leave or stay. It's up to y'all. When I get to talking about growth, money, mindset, I'm stuck. So either you can go or you can listen. But were you here for this talk when I was talking to y'all about failing forward? Well, I believe it should be on YouTube. I believe it should. Jazz the banana. Yeah, when I was talking to y'all about how life is like a banana. Oh, you're welcome. Okay. All right, really quickly. I'll do this real quick and then I'll wrap it up because it's getting late and I know people have to go night-night. Okay, so life is like a banana. Okay, Florence, I see you in class. I'm so excited. Yeah, y'all are going to love this class. It's great. It's great. Okay, so life is like a banana, okay? And the reason why I said life is like a banana is because just like a banana has stages in its life, as do humans, okay? And so initially when you get a banana or you see a banana in a grocery store, it's this really bright green color. And it's green, just like the analogy we would use to someone who is green as a person, which means they don't really know much. They haven't had any experiences in life. They're just kind of here. You ever had somebody tell somebody like, you green, right? They just don't know anything yet about life, right? Zero common sense, zero experiences. Okay. They're just not ready for the world. Much like a really green banana is not necessarily ready to be consumed. So then the banana goes into the stage where it is this bright yellow. And at this stage, this is where you're like, yes, this banana is ready. I'm ready to eat this banana. And just like in life, when you get to that stage in your life, you're probably like 18, 19, and you're ready to take on the world. You have gone through school, right? And you're just like, yes, I am ready to enter life. Okay. So at this point, you are at your freshest, youngest, most vibrant stage of life. Okay. And then you have these life experiences, and something happens to the banana after it goes through its fully yellow stage. What happens, y'all? It starts to get these little brown spots all on it, right? Just little brown spots all on the outside of the banana once it sits too long. And my kids will not eat a banana once it starts having brown spots on it. To them, it just looks like it's old, it's nasty, they don't want to touch it. And like life, once you've had some experiences, gone through some heartaches, maybe you've gone through some trauma, had some learning lessons, you start to get a little beat up on the outside, right? And like a banana, when it has all those spots on it and it's really starting to get old, ripe, when it's starting to get ripe, it looks ugly on the outside because it looks like it's beat up. But on the inside, it's so much sweeter. And just like life experiences, where they may have beat us up on the outside, created some character, right? We had some life experiences. It made us better on the inside. So now we're a little bit wiser. We know how we want to be treated. We know how we want to be talked to. We know what our likes are, our dislikes are. Okay. But then something happens. We reach this point to where we've gone through all these experiences. But what happens to a banana when it sits too long? It gets overripe. So it goes from being this spotty banana to this fully brown banana. And at this point in time, you have to make some decisions what you're going to do with it. You're either going to make banana nut bread or you're going to throw it away, because those are the only two decisions you really have once a banana gets that ripe. Okay. And just like life, when you sit around too long and you stop being in the growth space of experiences, because there's only so much experiences can teach you before you have to make a decision on if you're going to do something different with your life or allow yourself to perish or decay in the complacency of wherever you decided to stay. Right? So you got to make a decision. Are you going to make a change? You're going to decide you're going to grow, have different experiences, learn, develop, do something different with your life? Or are you going to remain complacent? And are you going to allow your comfort zone, your fear zone, your lack zone, are you going to allow that to keep you from getting to where you should be, which is your next level? So that's what we're talking about when we said life is like a banana. And all of that thought started from me having a spotted banana yesterday for breakfast. So that was my analogy of that. And my daughter, one of her high school friends, was on my live, and he's like, why is your mama talking about a banana? How is life like a banana? But to me, it made perfect sense. And I thought it was a great analogy. So for those of you who like the analogy, thanks. That's just how my brain decided to work yesterday. But this book tied into it, okay? Failing Forward, because a lot of people are afraid to make life-changing decisions. They're afraid to grow, do the next thing that's outside of their comfort zone because there's a fear of failing, right? Whether that's saying, I want a different environment, I want different experiences, I want to do better for myself, right? Okay, Dory, I'll see you in class. Right? There's a fear that a lot of people have. Maybe it's starting your own business. Maybe it's taking the next step and going for another job that's up the ladder. Some people are truly afraid of taking that step because they're afraid that they're going to fail when they do. And they just tell themselves, I should have just stayed where I was at. But the truth is, do you really want to live your whole life just staying exactly where you are? Is that like the best you could do with yourself, is stay exactly where you are? And it's not to say you didn't accomplish anything, but is that really where you want to be? Because the moment we stop working on ourselves is the moment that we start to digress, the moment that we start to revert, right? And we don't want to do that. So even if it's reading a book 20 minutes a day, even if it's changing the conversations with the people that are around you, even if it's saying, today I'm going to try something that I'm afraid of doing, it's going to develop your character and it's going to make you a better person, a stronger person, a wiser person. Everything does not have to be about money. If that's your end goal, the money's going to come because you yourself have developed into the type of person who can have that type of money. Because I don't know if y'all know this statistic or not. Most people will die millionaires. Most people will die having touched at least $1 million. Did you know that a 40-year career of making $42,500 a year is $1.7 million? So it's not to say that you don't deserve to be a millionaire. It's not to say that you can't be a millionaire if that's what you want to be. It's to say that you yourself have not developed into the type of person who can manage the million. Because there's just certain mentalities, mindsets, habits, behaviors, triggers, lack of boundaries, all of that are keeping you from doing the things you want to do and becoming the type of person that you want to become. So in this book, Failing Forward, and this is the last thing I'm going to cover with y'all, because I would like to take this wig off and these eyelashes. But in this book, Failing Forward, this is what he was discussing. Hold on. This is what he was discussing. He said, John C. Maxwell, okay, that's what he said. He said, if you really want to do something like great, okay, this is how you do it. You fail forward and you fail forward fast, essentially. But number one, realize there is one major difference between average people and achieving people. All right. Average people and achieving people. If you want to be an achieving person, there's a different threshold that you have to be at. And it doesn't mean it's got to be something stressful. It doesn't mean that you got to be in grind mode. It just means that you recognize that there's more that you desire than the average person desires. And that's okay. It just requires a shift in what you're doing. That's it. So maybe instead of the hour that you spend watching TV, maybe you spend an hour working on personal development. Maybe you spend an hour listening to Eric Thomas. Maybe you spend an hour listening to something motivational to get you up and get you going into focus mode. Okay. Then you want to learn a new definition of failure. So when you're relearning what failure means, you actually start to find opportunity in failure. So there's people who are on Facebook. I'm assuming some of y'all on Facebook or YouTube, y'all are aware, right, that I had a degree, got pregnant with my daughter, started working at a daycare because we couldn't afford for her to go to the daycare. So I was making $7.25 an hour. After I lost my job as a correctional officer, making $7.25 an hour working inside the daycare. I could have looked at the failure of losing my career. That was the start of my career, losing that and not seeing opportunity. I could have looked at the failure of saying, I have a whole degree. I have my whole bachelor's degree. Why am I making $7.25 an hour and beat myself up about it? But I saw opportunity in that. So I started an in-home daycare. And I went from making $7.25 an hour to taking weekend classes to get certified with my CDA, to starting my own in-home daycare, which started out on the weekends, bled to the weekdays, ended up being a full-time situation. Then I leveraged that and I opened a women's only gym with childcare. And the way that God works is when it is for you, it is for you. Because I didn't have the credit to get a building and all I had on me was cash. And the place that allowed me to get that gym, all they wanted was cash. It was a mom and pop owned facility. All they wanted was cash. They didn't care about the credit in. So when it's for you, it's for you. But you have to change how you define fear and start looking at start looking at failure as opportunity, because there's always an opportunity to grow in those moments. When I lost my gym because of a car accident, and I was in a neck brace for months, I had multiple spinal injections, and I almost let failure determine what I was going to do, because when I got my job as a banker, I was content. Like, I was happy. What? Dental, vision, benefits. What? I never had stuff like this before in a long time, right? But when God has other plans for you, it's just how the way life is going to happen. And so I used to keep this little gold card. It was from a Bob Proctor event that I went to, actually. And I wrote on there, I'm so happy and grateful now that I earn $100,000 a year and impact the lives of thousands by December 31st, 2020. I kept it someplace nobody could see it. I finished my master's in July of 2020. Okay. And I was trying to go for corporate positions at this point in time. December 2nd, 2020, I was asked to come and work early the next day. And I was a great banker, so I didn't have any issues there. Didn't know what was really going on. And I got let go of the following day. 3 bankers in my branch, thousands of bankers company-wide because of the pandemic. It's around Christmas time. I have 3 daughters. I'm like, what? How this gonna work out? And I snot-nosed boohoo cried my entire way home. But I looked at that as an opportunity, not failure. Oh, I lost my job. What am I gonna do? I saw opportunity because I knew that I wanted to help people with learning their relationship with money. I knew I wanted to help people with budgeting their money. I knew I wanted to do that. And how funny is it that the gold card that I had on my desk became true? How funny. And so now I have another goal, right? But there's failure. When you find failure, you have to find opportunity. And if you can't find opportunity in those failures, then you're not going to do very much. If every time you see failure and you're like, oh my gosh, life is horrible. Everything's not going my way. This is wrong. That's wrong. Oh, I'm just terrible. If you do that, then what do you think you're speaking? You're speaking, everything is terrible. Life's not going my way. So what do you think is going to continue to happen? Life is not going to go your way. Everything's going to be terrible. That's what's going to happen because that's what you're speaking from your tongue. And if any of y'all know anything about, God and the word and the Bible and stuff, what do they say? Whatever you speak out your tongue, you are speaking into existence. So instead of saying, I'm failing, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, say, okay, it is what it is. What do I need to do to change this? How can I get success focused? How can I take this learning lesson and turn it into something else? How can I find opportunity in this failure? Because the only way that I can go right now is up. And that's the benefit of being at the bottom. Because I'm going to tell you one thing for sure and two things for certain. Failing at something is equally as hard as turning around and getting up and fighting for something. You just got to decide what side of hard you feel like being on. Because either you're going to keep up waking up, being upset, being sad, being depressed, having anxiety, sleepless nights and all of that, or you're going to wake up at a certain amount of time, decide what you're going to do, operate your schedule a certain way, start getting healthy, start getting active, start getting focused. You're going to do something different, and both of them are going to be hard. So that was number 2. Okay, and then remove the you from failure, right? Because failure is not you. It's something that happened to you. All right. Problems happen to you. You are not the problem. Okay. 4, take action and reduce your fear. I encourage everybody to just identify something you're afraid to do. If it's public speaking, maybe it's that. Just go do it. And if it's you got a fear of the ocean, just go do it. Because the only way you're not going to be afraid is if you go do it. I was deathly afraid of sharks until I went scuba diving. And I got to poke an octopus in the eye like this. It wasn't intentional. I thought it was a rock until it moved. And then I was like, but I did it. And I stopped being afraid of the deep sea because I knew I had a fear. I needed to address it. And the minute I addressed it, I felt totally unstoppable. And Will Smith said something about this. Will Smith said that fear, like the actual act of doing whatever you're afraid of, is actually not fear. It's the anxiety leading up to the fear, like the anxiety leading up to the thing, right? He was talking about him jumping out of a plane, how he was so afraid to jump out of a plane. And he was like, when he went to bed that night, he thought about it. It kept him up. When he woke up that morning, he lost his appetite because he was like, I'm about to go jump out of a plane. I'm so afraid. When he was driving to the, or riding to the airport, or wherever it was that he went, hold on. When he was riding over to the airport, he said his stomach was turning and he had butterflies and all this stuff. And he said when the plane went up in the air, he felt like he was going to vomit because he was just so afraid. And then the minute he jumped off that plane, he said it was the most peaceful, beautiful experience he has had because he got on the other side of fear. And the same thing happened when I went scuba diving, except for the vomiting part. I told myself I was a thug and I was going to G it out. And I did that. And then I stopped being afraid. Okay. All right. And then change your response to failure by accepting responsibility. Stop pointing the finger at everybody else. No, nobody else is the reason why your life is the way it is. Now, the moment that you became aware of why your life is the way it is, the way you responded is your own to take accountability of. You might not have had control over stuff when you were a child. You have every bit of control on how you choose to respond as an adult. If you got stuff you have to work past, go to therapy. That's what they're paid to do. Stop telling all your friends and family your business and go talk to somebody that's professional who can help guide you through whatever it is that you went through. Okay? That's what they're paid to do. So you might as well talk to somebody and get over it or work through it. Find resolve. All right? So stop pointing the finger at everybody else. Take some self-accountability. Every time for some reason, when we cry, we want to go look in the mirror and watch ourselves cry, but we don't ever want to look in the mirror and have a conversation about why we are the way we are, why we do what we do, and how we need to fix it. But every time something going wrong, we cry, oh, why life happened? Why did this do this? Why did this do that? You can look in the mirror and say, girl, you need to get it together. This isn't right. I look cute. I'm broke. I'm wearing things that make me look rich. I ain't got nothing to show for it. I'm a high 6-figure earner. I'm living paycheck to paycheck. What is this? I look good on the gram. I'm broke in real life. Okay? Change the conversation. Don't let the failure from outside get inside you. We talked about that, I think. Say goodbye to yesterday. It is what it is. You can't change it. Just acknowledge that. Move forward. Okay? Change yourself and your world changes. That is, in fact, a fact. Period. Then it's get over yourself and start giving yourself. Get over yourself and start giving yourself. Get over whatever it is you got going on right now and start giving to yourself, whether that's experiences, whether that's being around other people, whether that's reading new books, whether that's whatever. Get over yourself and start giving to yourself. Find the benefit in every bad experience. We talked about that. If at first you do succeed, try something harder. Make sure whatever goals that you're setting, you do want to have attainable goals that you set, but you also want to have goals that's going to make you stretch. You really want to grow as an individual, you have to have these type of conversations that's going to make you go further than where you currently are. Okay, so like for example, one of my goals was I wanted to sell my book in every state in the US. That was a big goal for me because I never even saw myself selling one single book. And then I sold like 100 and something books on pre-sale, had a whole anxiety attack, was ready to refund everybody their money and cancel my book. And now my book has sold in 7 countries and 37 states. And so when I expressed this goal to one person, I was like, hey, this is my goal. They were like, that goal's too small. Your goal should be focused on selling 10,000 books. And I was like, well, why? And like, I was listening, but I was like, but my goal is every state. And they're like, but you can sell 10,000 books in one state. Change the goal. So I needed someone to stretch where my thoughts were so that now I have a bigger goal to achieve for. Okay. And sometimes it takes somebody being able to see that you can achieve it for you to believe that you can achieve it. Because sometimes it's really hard to tell yourself like, hey, I can really do these things. I'm really capable. But there's other people who can look at you and say, there's something in you. You're very special. You can do this. And then you'll start to believe, dang, I must be kind of special. I probably really can do this. Okay. All right. Let's see. So try something harder. Set obtainable goals, but try something harder. All right. Learn from a bad experience and make it a good experience. In everything that you do, there's a lesson. So you just got to learn what it is and take it for what it is and find the good in the experience. Okay. So for every lesson, make it a blessing. All right. And then a couple more. Work on the weakness that weakens you. Okay. So for me, one of my worst attributes was how I operated with money, but I made my weakest link one of my strongest attributes. Okay. Always been a nice person, always been a goofy person, always been like good at sports, all that stuff. But when it came to money, I was not the best at managing money. But being broke will teach you some things about money. So I changed that very quickly and I learned, and now I've become an international money management coach behind it. And I'm helping other people on a daily basis learn how to live bougie and balanced. Okay. So what is your weakness? Write down what you feel like is your biggest weakness. And then you got to work every single day at taking that weakness and turning it into one of your strengths. All right. Understand there's not much difference between failure and success. There's really not, because it's all about how you define it. Okay. We're going to talk about that and then I'm ending it, y'all. I'm getting cotton mouth. Okay. Here's the book. Here's the book. John C. Maxwell, Moving Forward. You got it? Okay. So this part, how you define failure and how you define success, it's all relative. Okay. Because how let me see. How Gina may define her failures may be how Junior defines his success. So Gina may say a failure for her is that she has a business and she only made $300 that day. Or let's just say she just made $100 that day. And she's like, oh, this is such a terrible day. I cannot believe oh gosh, I only made $100 today. And I had goals of making $300 or $400 today. And then let's say Junior just started his business and he had 3 sales and they equaled $100. That's a success for him. So while Gina is stressed about the fact that she only made $100, Junior is celebrating that he made $100. So how you define failure and success is all relative. For somebody that's walking, seeing somebody that's driving a Honda is a success. For somebody that's driving a Honda, seeing somebody that's driving a Bentley is a success. But the person that's walking is saying, dang, I wish I had a car. So the person driving the Honda looks like a success to them. And very well could be a success because I'm sure the Honda's probably paid off, which makes it an asset. Okay, so how you define success and how you define failure just looks different. So just start looking at them the same, because if you failed at something, there's opportunity to grow from it. And whatever you succeed at, at some point is going to become your floor, which means at some point your measures of success will then start to become your measure of failure, because your measure of success is going to change. So just start finding the benefit in both. Where there's failure, you'll learn. Where there's success, I don't know many people that learn in success seasons. I know plenty of people that become their best versions of themselves when they're failing, when they feel like they've hit their version of rock bottom, their version of a floor. That's when ideas come in. That's when light starts to break. Because I don't know if y'all looked at my stories, but I shared my Bible study from this morning. I've been working on my walk. I've been trying to get closer to God. I'm doing my best. Okay, so I've been attending Bible study. And so Pastor Mo, okay, she talked about this in her live sermon like the week before last. And she was saying essentially how when there's failure, there's all these opportunities to grow, because there's growth that bursts from darkness. So when you are trying to grow a plant, you don't put the seed on top of the ground, you put it in the darkness, and then in the darkness is where the seed will sprout. Much like when you're going through life situations, you may feel like you're in the darkness, but when you're in the light and you're just chilling, there may be gratitude there, but growth is oftentimes limited because you're just in the space of gratitude all the time. But when you're in the darkness and you're in it and you're really feeling it, that's where you really start to grow, because you're starting to think about ideas and ways for you to come out of this. So that seed will sprout, that seed will root. And you don't see the roots. You don't see the growth. See, not everybody's going to see the growth while you're going through your process, because it's still underground. But when you sprout, they're going to be thinking, what did you do? How you're different? But they didn't see all the work you put in on the back end. They didn't see all the praying. They didn't see all the reading. They didn't see all the different decisions you were making, because it was all happening underground, but you sprouted. And so I really like that analogy that she made, because growth oftentimes does happen in the darkness. Okay, so please, please, please redefine your perception of failure. Redefine your perception of success. Because for every success you have is probably going to look like somebody's failure. And for every failure you have is more than likely going to look like somebody else's success. Because I can guarantee you there's a lot of people who are living in situations they don't want to live in. And they're looking at you like, my God, they got a roof over their head. They have clothes in their back. They have food in their stomach every day. If only. And you're looking at somebody else like, why do they have all this and I don't have that and all this stuff? No. So that's the end of that, y'all. We're going to wrap this bad boy on up at 11:33. Thanks for hanging out with me. If you bought a book, I really appreciate it. I went on some tangents, but we did cover the original topic, which was Inflation Reduction. The Inflation Reduction Act. We did cover that. I know we did. Are you going to replay the first investment class? I missed it. Or do I have to register for the next class? No. Everyone who registered for the first class, you're going to get access to the recording. I'm actually a little over halfway done with editing it. And so it's going to be given to you in classroom style format. So you'll have like the resources will pop up when you're on that part of the instruction and all of that. Now, for those of you who have not registered for the investing stock class one-on-one, the last one sold out in a week and oh my Lord, not the fake page joining the live. Y'all, I got one of my fake pages in the live. Why are you really? You have some nerve. So anyways, I gotta block you. Okay. So anywho, if you haven't registered, the last class sold out in a week and a half. I didn't do any ads. So make sure that you grab your seat if you're going to grab your seat. I know that there are over 30 seats that have already gotten registered, and I've only talked about this class twice. So please grab your seat if you're going to grab it. $39.99 is a phenomenal cost for the class, especially with the amount of value that you get and the amount of hand holding that I offer in the class. Okay, so that's all I have to say about that. Y'all be blessed. Have a good night. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for coming to hang out with me, and I will be talking with you soon. Bye.